everybody, a warm welcome to Wisdom from North. I'm Jannecke, and today I'm here with a talented illustrator and author, Hans Wilhelm. Hans Wilhelm has written over 20 books and sold over 40 million copies around the world. He has also collaborated with Byron Katie a number of times, and he writes books for all ages. He also has a YouTube channel where he explains complicated spiritual concepts in a simple way. And this back of a napkin approach has appealed to thousands, as he has over 50,000 followers on his YouTube channel. Hello, Hans Wilhelm. Welcome. How are you?
Hello, Jannecke. Delighted to be here. Thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Lovely to see you.
I'm so happy to see you too. I've been watching many of your videos lately, and there is this there are so many. There's this variety of topic that you are covering. So I wanted to ask you, we're going to speak about the universal laws today, and I can't wait because it gives us this overview in a way. But first, what was your inspiration to start these videos? Because you were drawing, you're an illustrator, this wasn't like what you thought you were going to do.
Well, I was studying the spiritual laws at least for 45, 50 years at the time. And I thought this is something very personal. I kept it to myself because who wants to hear it? I mean, you're not going around to preach anybody with it. You understand it for yourself, and it's meant for yourself. But then my father was dying, and he was a slow death, and we were there with children around his bed 24 hours. And I was at one time there just before he died, and he didn't believe in life after death. He was pretty sure it was all over, and he was fine with that. So I said to him, I says, look, Dad, I know what you believe, that there is nothing happening after this, but just in case you may continue as a soul or whatever, these are the things which are going to happen to you. So I explained to him sort of the important thing which happens for a soul when it makes a transition of death. So he listened to it and smiled. He can't speak anymore, but sort of saying, all right, I heard your version. I don't believe that crap. I get it. So I totally forgot about it. It was sort of 5 years later when I went to a book signing of a young medium whom everybody spoke about, and I wanted to hear him because he was very powerful. People loved his work, and I went very early to have a seat in our local New Age bookstore, and I was alone there. And I saw sitting and closing my eyes and waiting for the multitudes to come, when suddenly somebody tapped me on the shoulder and he says, look, I'm Roland Comtois, who is this medium. And I says, when you came in, I saw you coming in, and your father came with you right away and came up to me and says, look, this is my son. You have to speak to him right away. You have to tell him that everything he told me about death is true. And I'm so grateful that he helped me to understand it and know this. And then he says, but he is now also seeing how so many souls are arriving on the other side, have no idea what's happening, are totally confused. And what he said, would you please write books about this? And anyway, he just gave some other personal information. So I knew this was the soul of my father. I was totally blown away. And I struggled with it because I wasn't going to write about it in any detail about it. But then I thought about myself when I was a teenager. That was well before the internet and so on. And I wanted to know all this spiritual stuff. And there wasn't much to find. There wasn't many books at the time, etc. I was pretty struggling on my own. And it says there are many teenagers or many young people who also struggle. And they get so much misinformation and so on. So I decided to reach young people through the videos. So I decided to make videos. And they're only 5 to 10 minutes long, very short. The life expansion of us young people is very limited. So I have to really be very concise and very condensed material. And I put this on a website called lifeexplained.com, and also on YouTube, also on lifeexplained.com. And that has now grown to something like more than 60 videos. And they're all short, and they deal about everything, about the laws of the universe, about loneliness, about addiction, you call it spirit possession, and life after death, life before death. How the karmic law works, and etc., etc. So it is a huge volume of material there. and it is drawn. I draw these things out visually so you can see how it all relates. And the more I do it, the more I learn, the more fun I have, and the feedback has been rather favorably. I must say that I'm rather touched by the very positive replies I get, because I think a lot of people struggle with these wonderful texts that we do have. Take, for instance, the wonderful books of Edgar Cayce. This is one of these wonderful teachers I followed for a long time. But his writing is very difficult. It's very difficult to read. And Rudolf Steiner and others are so complicated. But if you really slow down and read it carefully and work it all together, suddenly it all becomes very accessible, very understandable. And as I said, God has no secrets from us. He wants us to know everything to reach him. So why would he go to secret societies or churches or have every levels or whatever it is? It's all there. It's all here. And it is all in us. I think that is the key.
Yes, it's so beautiful that you're doing it, and it's so important. Like you're mentioning something really important here. These scriptures that exist, the Vedic scriptures and everything is really complicated, and sometimes it's not translated, and it's difficult in English, and that's why we need great teachers to communicate this for us and to speak their truth and dare to do it. And I'm so glad that you dared to speak your truth, even though in the beginning it might feel natural, like, should I do this? But sometimes I think the universe is like showing us that, we want you to do this, and then it starts being fun, but it's also always scary in the beginning, because all of a sudden we get so visible, and we must really stand in our own truth, even though some might disagree. Yeah.
Well, that's why my first videos, most of them, have no comments. I didn't allow comments because I didn't want to deal with there's so much negativity on the internet. And I says, I don't need that. So I cut off the comments. I now allow them. But surprisingly, there are very, very few, if at all, any negative comments, which really surprised me. So it's like attracts like. I guess anybody who is really very negative would not find my videos in any form interesting enough to spend a few minutes on. So people who are really searching, who are looking, look at these videos differently. So these are not made for entertainment. These are made for people who seriously want to know, how does this work?
Yeah, and there's so many serious seekers out there, and that's why it's so important to talk about this. So I would love to dive into the big questions here. The universal laws. A lot of us have heard of the law of attraction, but there are many other laws as well. In your perspective, how many laws are there? Are there some main laws and some minor laws? Or how?
I think there's only one law, and that law is love. And all the others are sub-laws. Some of them are permanent and some only temporary. Oh. And I don't know whether there's any number, because you can really divide them up in many, many subsets and so on. But there is this first energy. Everything is vibration. Everything is energy. And of course, the first one is like attracts like. Yes, the law of attraction, like attracts like, because the whole universe is built on this one. And I think that is very important. We are living with that law from morning till evening, from lifetime to lifetime. It influences everything. It influences who our parents will be when we get born, because it has to be like attracts vibration, at least between the mother and the incarnating soul. So it has to do with the family around us. We only attract the people who are have something similar like ourselves around us. So there's never any coincidence where we are and in which country we are. Everything is on a course of vibration and course of like attracts like. And then we, of course, what is most importantly is our karma, which we do by what we sense, what we feel, what we think, what we say, and what we do. All of this is stored, not only in our soul and in our body, in the Akashic record, but also in the repository planets of the material and semi-material universes. This is where horoscopes came from originally. So all our karma is stored in these planets, and these planets constantly move. And when they are full of position, they download the same karma back to us, like attracts us. So we get the same stuff back. We are reaping what we have sown.
Can I stop you there? Because I lost
Sure.
you. Yes, that was a bit new information, or maybe you explained it in another way. Can we go back to the stars? You said that the karma was in the stars. I mean, I know everything connects, but it was interesting what you said. Can you talk about that again?
Okay, I made a whole video. It's how the stars rule our lives. It's a video for anybody. It's only 5 minutes long. But basically, that's what I explained, that all our action, or what we do, what we feel, what we think, sense, and do and say, is transported to corresponding planets in the universe, in the material and semi-material universe. Most of the stars and so on, which we see, are actually also storage planets. They are not just only there for beautiful to see at evening, etc. They have a purpose. They are just exactly like the satellites around our Earth. These are also absorbing and reflecting information. The satellites which we created is nothing else but a copy of the causal computer, we call it, the whole universe, a causal computer, which is all the stars. And there in these stars and also in the spirit says, we are loading continuously our karma, particularly the negative karma. So these are also then later on the stars which our soul will be attracted to after death, after physical death. So we are continuously loading our future life here on Earth and also after our demise here on Earth, where we will be. So we are continuously in communication. All of life is communication, intelligence and communication. And so it's always sending and receiving, sending and receiving. And those planets are not just only sitting there lovely to be seen. They're continuously sending and receiving. And planet Earth does that too, or everyone does it. And it is where our karma is stored. And they change. And sometimes these planets get full of negativity or whatever it is, and then they are downloaded. We copy the same system with our cloud program. It's all the way how our technology works. It's nothing else but a copy of the big causal computer, the cause and effect computer, where everything is recorded and comes back to us. This is only a temporary computer because it's only a temporary reality we are living in. It's a relative reality. The absolute reality is heaven, it's God, it's love, it's where we all came from. But we are temporarily here in this universe which we created through what we call the fall in the biblical sense, when we consciously left the pure heaven and decided to create our own ego came in and we wanted to be like God. So by doing that, we separated ourselves from love. Love is always for unity with everything. But then we decided, oh, everything is for me, me. And that way brought us more and more away from the absolute reality. There's a wonderful video, and a nice one, a good one. I think it's how reality works, and explains it, how we slowly removed ourselves from that pure high vibration of love. And now we are on the way back. And everything what we do, this video, what we do, our communication, everything, every person we meet is nothing than a tool for our homecoming. Everything is our coming home to who we once were. You know the story of the prodigal son. He left heaven on his own accord, got lost in the world, and when he was right down, and we are right down here on earth, he says, this is no good, let's go home. And the Father waits with open arms for our return. This is basically the allegory of our life and our story. And the causal computer, coming back to karma, only exists outside the true absolute reality because it's temporary. We're only temporary moving away. This is only even if it's eons of eons, but we are going back to the absolute reality. The absolute reality is eternal. Our reality is not eternal. It's only temporary. So therefore, the causal computer only works outside. There is no karma in the pure heaven because everything happens in the now. There is no time delay. We have the time delay. Like what I do today comes back to me maybe this lifetime or later. And what is so sad that in the Western world, the church has suppressed the teaching of Christ, which included karma and reincarnation. And there are many quotes in the Bible, and it was not really taken up by the church. It was taken over Emperor Justinian, I think, in the 5th century. I made a video about it, Reincarnation Part 2, where I explain how the Christian teaching of reincarnation, which was known to every early Christian, was suppressed and purposely taken out. so that they had a better control on the people. Because if with reincarnation, you don't really need to go to church, become a better person on your own. But without reincarnation, you had to be a member of that church, and that is control.
What about that we left this absolute reality to just experience ourselves, that God was supposed to experience what it's like to be God? Because I don't look at, I don't know if I misunderstood you, but I don't look at being here on earth as like something in a way negative, or that we're lost. Yes, in a sense we are lost, but in another sense we are learning about what love is. We're experiencing, we're expanding. I feel like it's like this purposeful path of discovery, that we haven't fallen in a way. In a sense we have, but in another sense we haven't. Everything is perfect because we are experiencing what love is again. We are experiencing what love is because we're experiencing the opposite.
You said it. We're experiencing love again. We are relearning love.
Right.
Our nature is love. That is our true default setting. And we have, through thinking, with doing, with speaking, we have unfortunately removed ourselves from that love stream and from our own true nature, and therefore created the mess. You and I are living very comfortably in the Western world, but the majority of people are having an awful difficult time in this world and planet. So the majority of people on those have a very, very hard time. And it's true, it is a positive experience to be here on Earth, because it's nothing else than a school. We are only here for 800,000 hours. It's a very short time each time we incarnate. It's like going to college for 3 or 4 years, where you go purposely to be challenged severely so that you can grow and later have the positive consequences from it. And we do the same thing. We come to Earth. We want to incarnate. Most people want to incarnate so that we can, in a very short time, what we normally would otherwise learn in the spiritual realm on very eons on eons. It takes much, much longer in the spiritual world than we can learn here on Earth.
Yes, I've heard that before, and I think that's so interesting. And I love being reminded of that perspective when I think things are difficult. When I look at the news and I just get like, it's so awful here. Then I'm, reminding myself that we have chosen to come down here, like each individual. And I don't know that, but I believe that I've chosen. So when difficulties come in my life, I'm trying to remind myself of, okay, what can you learn from this? What am I learning from this situation? It really hurts. This is pain, yes, but it's for a reason. Yeah. It's not coincidental that I'm having a pain. And it makes it so much better for me to deal with pain then, because I'm growing. And there's something beautiful in growing, even though, and sometimes we have to grow through the most painful things, because that's when we have huge growth. Like I'm going to do an interview now about how we can find ourselves after a breakup in a relationship, and that can feel like death. Somebody breaks your heart. You feel all of a sudden you lose your identity in a way. The ground falls apart beneath you, and it's just pain. He doesn't love me. But then in that, there's such a growth when you let go of the relationship. All of a sudden you can find that power again, and you feel stronger than before. And it's such a cliche in a way, but it's so true. It's so true.
And you had this wonderful interview with Byron Katie. I mean, you pointed on that one out. And once we are through with it, we realize the first love we have to go besides God is ourselves. I mean, we have to love ourselves. The person in the mirror is the one we really have to love, not in a silly child way, but really love means respect. Respect myself in the mirror, that I don't harm you and I don't harm myself. And I think that's the key. We can only attract somebody there if we really love ourselves first. And of course, the other thing is, since it is only such a short time, it's quite okay if we do not have a mate. It's only for 800 hours. I know I made this video on soulmates, which is very different than what most New Age teachers say. And the soulmate says very clearly, people always look for their soulmates. A soulmate will be just a hindrance here in our life. We are here on college. Imagine you go to college and you take home your mommy, your puppy, your dog, and everybody, your whole support system to be in college. You wouldn't learn anything. You wouldn't make new friends. You would be just stuck and rely on that support system. Your soulmate is there, but not necessarily incarnating at the same time with you, because now you are on your own and you are now growing without the support of a very close other being like a soulmate. Therefore, most people do not have their soulmates. That doesn't mean that they can't have a wonderful marriage with another person and relationships. Yes, they do. But the soulmate is purposely not incarnating at the same time unless both souls have agreed to bring a very important message or healing effort here to the world. They don't go for their own growth, but they come here to do some work, really physically some work, etc., together. So they support each other, where the main effort is the work, not the personal growth. But when we have the personal growth, we are much better for a while to remove ourselves from our comfort zones, which is our family and our dog and everybody else and our friends, and be in this totally new world. It's awful, it's horrible to be in this sort of first time, etc. You have to make new friends, you don't know how to behave, and then it all runs. And after 4 years, well, it works. You are a much more grown person. That's why the soulmates are not necessarily waiting around the corner for us. Therefore, it's important to love ourselves and also even love God. And the love God relation is the other thing which I noticed in the periods when I was alone. That was much, much more intense, to have this relationship with your inner God or Christ, or whoever you have your inner guide with, or spiritual guide, whatever it is, becomes very intense, and that is very helpful. That if you really focus on that energy, which is the strongest energy there is, everything else goes away. And everything, sorry, not goes away, but everything else becomes less important. Because you feel secure that you are loved. You feel the love, you are loved. You may not get it from one specific person, but there is this relationship that you are not alone. You know you're not alone, you're not lonely. So I sometimes believe, this is my belief, I haven't read it anywhere, it says, sometimes life puts us into these phases where we are on our own as an adult. And this is the greatest opportunity for us to really go within, because the moment we are linked again with another person, we think 95% about us, about him and her, and whatever it is, etc. Our whole thinking, our nesting, building a house, the kids, having kids, our thinking is so much into the relationship that the self-development, or the development, the closest to closeness with God or Christ within, steps aside a little bit in most cases. So therefore, the period of being alone, make the most of it. That is a period when, because later you may not have that inner peace anymore, the crying baby there and whatever it is, etc. Life changes.
You know, it's so great that you're reminding all us single people, myself included, about this, because I just got this feeling that, wow, what a gift to be single. I just really felt that now. I took that in, because you're so right. I wouldn't have time to focus on my inner journey. Because when I get into a relationship, it's all about that. I'm so excited about that. And we're doing, couple things with this couple and that couple. And all of a sudden, there's so much action and so much things going on. And I used to be very dependent on my boyfriends and my father and my brother. And then I've been single now for 8 years. And it's been really empowering. And I feel so free. And I really appreciated it a lot. And I still do, even though, I feel open for a relationship. I really appreciate also being single, because I feel so free. And I know what you're talking about, that relationship to your... I feel like my inner soul or inner intelligence, it's so, so precious.
You can meditate when you want.
Yes, and I mean, big authors are talking about solitude, stillness. That's where you find that connection. So if you are in a relationship, I would advise that you find that stillness or time with yourself, that you can feel that, whatever you want to call it, that inner genius or guru or God or the universe. So, universal laws, back to that. So there was law of attraction, cause and effect, karma. Are there more laws?
Oh God, I guess a law of mercy. It depends on how divided a law of mercy. And then I don't know whether you call it a law, but of course forgiveness is very important to release everything, etc. So, and forgiveness is a major issue, a major component in our life to free ourselves. And all these laws, whatever they are, all these are basically tools. If we understand them and use them, it's basically to become free again, to free ourselves from anything that binds us. Karma is releasing the karma, is freeing ourselves. Because we have really, like the prodigal son, we really have attached ourselves to this world and everything identified with. Our ego identifies totally with our physical body, with what we have and who we are and how we look, etc. And this slowly has to be let go of because it's not us. We are a much deeper being. We are a soul. This is only a temporary reflection, but we are not. We are not we are a spirit in a human body. We are not a human body. Not a human being. We are a spiritual being in a human body or experience. Or you know the sentence, famous sentence as if. So we have to realize who we are. We are spiritual beings. And a spiritual being is much vaster, much stronger, much bigger, incredible and unmeasurable compared to our limitation as a human being. And keeping them and freeing ourselves.
Have you experienced this yourself? I know you read a lot. I know you have a lot of knowledge about this, and you've gone to courses with Byron Katie. Is this something you have really experienced for yourself? So is this kind of knowing?
Oh yes, in the meditation, yes. In meditation, yes. And also, I think where I mostly felt is when I needed that help, when I was humble enough to ask for that inner help in moments of distress or whatever, pain, etc. And it was given to me. Mm-hmm. And it was right away, and I felt it in my solar plexus and my whole being, etc. So the help is there, and I can feel it in my body, and that gives me the feeling that I'm connected with it. I'm not saying I'm the God, because that is not but I know I'm connected with God. And that gives me the strength. And this gives me the strength wherever I am. I mean, the only reason why we have fear is when we forget who we are. Mm-hmm. The moment we remember who we are not fearful. And this is the thing of who we are. We have to decide. It says, am I a human being or am I a spiritual being? For me, it's a spiritual being, and I understand that totally. And I also know from dreams or whatever it is, there is more than just this physical existence of mine. And most of all, I can also relate and connect in prayers, in meditation, with this enormous source, which we call love or God. And that is there for me all the time to use and to help me in my path to become love myself again. Mm. So the answer to this, have I experiences? Yeah, and many thoughts I have.
Mm. I think it is important that people have their own experiences, because to me, I had been reading about this. It always resonated, but I didn't know. And then I started experimenting with something I know that you've said in one of your videos is not a healthy thing. And that was interesting. I did some astral projection.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yes, because I had to know whether what I read was true. Like I had to have a proof that I existed outside my body. Okay. So I willed it into happening, and it happened. And that changed my life, because then I knew I didn't go to heaven, or what is heaven, I don't know what that is, but I definitely went outside my body. So I knew that, okay, I exist beyond the limits of my body. And that was enough for me. And then I grounded myself more, and I wanted to, focus more on living a happy life, empowering myself, finding my potential, all these things. So my curiosity kind of slowed down a bit. And I also noticed that the mystery grew very big, and maybe it wasn't beneficial to go into that path.
Work for you.
And your perspective was, so the viewers understand that we're not supposed to do that, or I don't know what we're supposed to do or not supposed to do, but definitely when you go out of body, you can meet these entities. We all have heard of ghosts and everything, but you can attract certain entities, and definitely for me, you know, at night, having lucid dreams, all of a sudden popping out of my body, I could experience horrible things, and lovely things, but also horrible things. I was just so horrible. And I wasn't afraid because I knew it wasn't real in a sense. But still, I felt that, you know, why should I focus on this? And that is actually my answer to darkness, because there was a period of time where I was like, maybe I should investigate and research the darkness because I know I have to know what it is.
Right.
But then that didn't lead me onto a nice path. Like, it just got darker and darker, and I realized, wow, you know, law of attraction, if that's really a law, that's real, then I will attract more of it, and it won't stop. So I decided to just leave that and just accept that, yeah, there might be some darkness out there, but I don't have to investigate it. And I let it go, and I've been, you know, it's been so much easier for me letting go of these things. But definitely I had to go the path and just research it a little bit to get some answers. So the path is like, you know, there's never a straight path, and there's never a similar path. We all have different ways, and some are more curious than others. Some even don't care in a way. But you were saying something interesting. You said that there's so many benefits of knowing more about spirituality. There's just so many benefits. And I agree with that, because then we come back to the laws, just knowing how things work, just knowing about that life is a mirror. That's huge.
Yeah. The law of projection is very important, or they also call it the law of correspondence, which basically says that whatever I see in the outside world is something in me. I project it basically outside of myself. And if it does give me some trouble, like I see something which I do not like, it is here. I am the projector. It is on my movie. It is on my belief. So I have to do the change here, not in the outside world. I don't have to run to Washington to change the people there. I have to change in myself whatever it is, what upsets me whenever I see a political show or whatever it is. It is I who have to do the changing. The political people, I take an example here, are merely my mirror. So whenever I have an emotional charge, it means there is something in me that I have not looked at and not loved yet. And I think I've never, ever found an exception to that rule. I mean, with my friends, very often it comes up in discussion, says, oh, I know an exception. This can't be. I definitely am not this. Trust me, with a few questions, and every time it is there. It is definitely there, because we have all the weakness. Everybody has the same weaknesses and the same kind of all the negativity in different proportions. So we all have that. But whenever it is disturbing us for something like this, then it is there for that moment for us to clear it up. And we can do it by looking at it. Where does it come from? Is it something from my childhood? And whatever it is, we make a self-discovery in a way. And then we send it and really flood it with love if possible. And then the feeling is back. I find it very, very interesting that we do this, that we pay great attention to how we react to the outside world. Whatever we see, we hear. And very often we don't pay attention to, oh my God, this person annoys me, or this, what he or she said is annoying me, or this annoys me, or the weather annoys me. Whatever it is, the annoying or the disturbing has a purpose. And not until I clear it up in myself will it stop in the outside world. New people coming with the same problem. It's the same like the man who always marries the same type of woman. Every time he gets divorced from the same, marries the same type of woman again and again and again. Not until you make a change will you attract another person in your life. So it's always up to us. And therefore the law of projection, or the law of correspondence, which we correspond to what is out there, is a very, very powerful tool. And I think that really opened my eyes more than anything else when I firstly heard about it a long time ago. And then I saw that, oh my God, I no longer can blame anybody, really.
I know.
It's all in me in a way. That doesn't mean we shouldn't stop people from doing stupid stuff. And we should speak out if we think a thing, or like misbehaving or whatever it is. It is our right to have our boundaries and says no. Nobody has the right to beat me in any form of measure. And also, well, if we see that somebody is harming themselves, it's important that we verbalize and says, I do not think this is the right way what you want to go. We can actually say it. We have no influence. We should not influence his free will. But we can say that, in our opinion, this is not right. Or this is where we feel this is not right. But you can go ahead and because eventually we need these reminders very often when you live, particularly when you live alone. You can basically grow like a weed. Nobody stops you. You can say anything, do anything, etc. But when then other people in your life and a partner may help us and says, look, this is wrong, I don't like that, etc. But when we don't have that, we only have our friends. And when we become too funny uncles or crazy aunts or whatever it is, the friends move away. They don't tell us anymore. And then we become crazy and crazy or self-absorbed. And I see the danger in this so much that because of the technology, people, particularly males, young males, are so isolated. They sit in their little attic or in their bedroom, on the computer all day long, etc.
Yeah.
No more real interaction. No more interaction. And that is something which is major, that will have major repercussion later on.
I watched a documentary from Japan where there were a lot of single guys who didn't dare to go up to girls. They didn't dare to talk to girls at all because they had been playing so much with games on all these boards, and they were used to all these figures, like these characters as women, but not real women. They had no idea how to talk to women at all. So that was like this huge, example, this extreme example. And there are so many single people in Japan. So that's interesting. What does it do to us? But back to what you were saying, law of correspondence and projection. In my school, I go to a school right now because I really wanted to turn the knowledge into wisdom. We call it match. Like when all of a sudden I get annoyed, there's a match.
Yeah.
And I find it so interesting. That's why lately, past year, I've been delving more into self-development, more into myself than asking out there in a way. And it's so mysterious, and I notice sometimes that I don't understand why, but this one person can make me feel a certain way, like really in a negative way, like I cringe, and I meet that same person again and again on the street, and I don't know what that is, but I have a reaction, and I don't know what it is, and all of a sudden I stop seeing that person because I delved into it in a sense, like I took the match, like there's something within me here. And then I didn't understand what it was, but I was aware that there's something in me. So I was conscious of it. So I took the match, like we're saying, and then he didn't show up anymore. So sometimes that can be it. I think that you're just aware that, okay, there's something in me that is responding to this. I don't have to understand it with my intellect, but I have to be aware that there's something here. And it was kind of like the system just sorted it out. And I found that so magical.
But it's actually not all that difficult. I give in my video on lifeexplained.com the example of a woman who gets battered by a husband. I mean, this is something really nasty things happening to her. But this is the same. It's a law of correspondence and law of attraction. Basically, this is a generalization, and I please want to say that it doesn't work for everyone, but it's a general feeling. Very often the person, the woman in this case, or can be a man as well, has got a very low self-esteem. They are beating themselves up all the time. I'm no good, I'm no good, I'm no good, I'm no good, I'm no good. And that vibration is so strong, like attracts like. Somebody who comes into her life and beats her physically to wake up. The beating she receives, the physical beating, is a wake-up call for her to stop that dialogue, to think about this, because she has attracted what she thinks. We only attract what we send out. So this is a very, very crass example, and I accept, and definitely there are exceptions to that rule. But I just want to see whatever happens to us, like when we see war on television and we are upset about it, how terrible. The first question is always, where am I at war within myself? Where I am at war within myself? What I'm not really fighting here?
Yes.
It's a struggle, etc. That is so the outside world is always a reflection.
And it's so strange because for me it seems like I have to be reminded of thinking like that. I forget it. Like I had technical problems for such a long time. Everything failed. My MacBook, my phone, my dishwasher, my camera, my electricity, like everything. And I was just angry and upset and I laughed and all these emotions. Then I was like, maybe there's something within me, but I couldn't see it. I was like, technical stuff, how could that be a match, you know? But then I was like going deeper and I was like, maybe there is something here. And of course there is. But it took me so long to see it. And sometimes it just, even though I know this, I know I should look for it, I forget about it.
the easy road of blaming the world or circumstances or technology. We always blame easily because then that stops us from looking deeper.
Right.
So that's the escape. So I think you're right. The law of correspondence or the law of projection is a very, very powerful law. And people who have never seen it or heard about it much, I really suggest to have a look at my video on lifeexplained.com, because in a few minutes I explain how the dynamic works, how our belief is basically, and Eckhart Tolle speaks about it. There's the first reality, which is and the secondary reality is around us. And the primary reality, which is in our head, determines the secondary reality. It's basically, in other words, different teacher, same thing. So it's always outside what is, others say there is now no outside. This is all an illusion anyway, so we can go there too. But still we see it for a reason, and we have to deal with it. And the answer to everything what upsets us, whatever makes us crazy, it's always one thing only. It's only love. There's nothing else. It's only love. We don't have to do major acrobatic in our mind here. What is missing is somewhere love. Somewhere is love. As I gave the example with a woman beating up herself, there is love missing, not self-love enough, etc. So it's always love in the end. And this is what God always says, the only thing you have to do is to love. And that encompasses all the other laws and everything in there, and it's all in there. It sounds so simple, but it is not difficult. That's why God is ingenious simplicity. It is all there. It doesn't hide itself. It doesn't, like the churches say, look, it's all a mystery of God. BS. It's very clear, once you know the basic rule, all is love, and this is where we go back to, everything makes sense. And the whole puzzle comes together.
Yeah, I believe so too, that all is love, but I still believe that it's so mysterious and very mysterious and so complicated that actually our minds cannot understand it. Or not complicated, but I think it's more complex is the word. It's so complex that our minds as a human being can't understand the God. But I wanted to go back to the love. And yes, I think that that's the answer. Sometimes it can be tough love too, in a sense. What is love, but that's another question. But back to the emotions and the matches. I know that you've been working on that, and I also work on that, not judging anything, not judging my emotions, not judging what is happening, just allowing what comes up. Okay, I forgot to look into myself about the technical stuff, but then I allow that, I accept that. And I know you did that too. You had this wonderful TED talk where you spoke about that you were bored. And how you use that into an inspiration, and you wrote so many beautiful children's books. And you said that you went into the emotions, you felt them. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because that's a great tool on how we can embrace emotions, what you did.
Well, I come back to what I said earlier about karma and how it is stored in the repository planets. And when a certain comes, it comes back to us, the karma. So let's assume we're having a blow of fate or an illness or something is coming back to us, which we have stored in many lifetimes before. Never does a serious karma, come back to us by surprise or as a surprise or out of the blue. Everything which is big and really affects our life sends warning signals out first. This is a love concept again of God. He says, you have time to correct your path. You have time to correct your path. Like cigarette and you start coughing, etc., you maybe better give up before you get lung cancer. So you have got the coughing. It says, this should be a signal for me to stop smoking. And in a way, the same thing happens here. And it does come back to our soul through our nervous system, and it is very often felt in our solar plexus as an uneasy, queasy feeling, something, yucky feeling, whatever it is, because we don't know what it is. We have no idea, but something is happening here, and I don't know what it is. Nobody said anything, but I feel yucky, I feel awful, I feel bored or anxiety. Anxiety comes up very strong. So our natural reaction is always, in today's time, go immediately to our little technology and etc. and distract ourselves by one of these wonderful apps, and we don't have to deal with our boredom. So the boredom, what I call, or can also be anxiety, is nothing else but a loving warning signal from our soul coming, says, look, wake up, there is something happening here, look into this, what does it remind you of, etc. Sit with it, let it happen, let it come up. You may not know exactly what it is, but there is something there that wants to express itself to you, warn you and make you ready. So I went to this, and I went to this boredom and different feelings. There was loneliness in it. There was something that I didn't think I could do a certain job. I was afraid, scared. I forgot all the other things in it, etc. And I sat with it, and I really accepted it and loved it and showered it with love. And when I did this, the feeling went away, and with it also came stories for me. I put the story also into the animal world. I put this with the beavers and the rabbits and so on. And suddenly each time I had another children's story. And after a while I had a dozen stories I brought to the publisher, and I sold the lot. And it was my start of my beginning of my career. But the idea of how I learned to love it is very interesting. Yuri Gagarin was the first cosmonaut who flew around the Earth. You remember that was before your time, but the first was a Russian who traveled around the planet Earth in a small little capsule. And when he went, I think a few times only before he landed, but when he was in space, he heard this clicking noise all the time. And then he just was he says, oh my God, this will drive me crazy. And he tried to fix it and he couldn't. And then he really says, this, if you sit there and can't do anything, and this thing is really drives you, it's like torture. And he realized this would be disastrous. So he then realized this could be a tune, and sort of like a Russian tune. And he started to hum with the sound, the tune. What he did, he basically started loving it. And the moment he loved it, it was gone. It disappeared. And he just took his journey with that actually helped him. He was basically singing through all the time or humming all the time. So that story I found very helpful at the time. And it says, gee, if you just love the stuff, what comes up, it may not necessarily tell us what it is, but it's there. I'm ready to receive. I'm ready to there. I'm not avoiding it. And unfortunately, in our society, we run away from boredom. We always go quickly to Netflix or whatever it is, etc., and do the distraction. And this is our disservice to ourselves, because everything has a purpose. And these queasy, uneasy, uncomfortable, anxiety or boring feelings in us are important messages, which we better face now, because if we do not face them, if we ignore the coughing as a smoker and suddenly realize we have lung cancer, says, oh my God, why me? This is the same thing. We had the coughing all the time before. Stop it. And this is basically the feeling which we have. It comes back to our soul, through the nervous system, into our body, and it makes us sometimes feel uncomfortable. And throughout the day, we have got different emotion and so on. But the idea here is sit with it. Sit with it, look at it, love it, and see what message it has for you. Ask it, what is the message for me here? What is it that I have to do?
Yeah, I mean, it's so powerful, because if you feel not worth so much, you feel bored, then you can feel like, I'm bored. I shouldn't be bored. I should be excited. Everybody's out there are excited, and you can feel low in energy. But if you look at it from that other perspective, this is information. This is an opportunity. Like, you started writing children's book, and this career just, opened up. It's amazing. so when you change that perspective, and love it, put love and discovery and observation, curiosity, and not identifying with that, I'm not valuable, but I feel that I'm not valuable. I have this feeling of not feeling worth anything right now, then it's totally this different energy. But we so identify with it. We think we are the emotions, because we have not been taught to observe what's going on in school.
You don't see them in sickness.
Yeah, we think we are the thoughts as well.
Yeah.
It's a journey of discovery, and we each has to walk it. And I think the more we do, the more powerful we become, and the more conscious we become, and then all of a sudden we start creating from a deeper place in us. We get more creative. So all of a sudden we create things that the planet actually needs, not just another, pink umbrella, because there are only green umbrellas. In a way, we create from this deeper place, but we have to wake up each individual.
Right.
So that's where I'm now.
Yeah, this is what it is all about. We are here for service in a way. We have to find a way to serve. It's not just only for having a great time in life, which is nothing wrong with it, but it is a basic reason. We are here to learn to serve and be for others, be there in whatever way it is. When in our New Age philosophy, very often it's so much emphasis on me, and I must my full potential and whatever it is, which is all very fine. But the full potential is only love. The full potential is only service. It is not for me to maybe become the greatest journalist or the greatest architect and so on. On the contrary, that's where the ego comes in. It is there for love and service. Now, this does not always make you money. It's true. But you can also make money somewhere else and do still the service in whatever it is. And if it's just being of service to your family members, one doesn't have to go home and help the homeless. There is always something to be of service to somebody, and also to the animal kingdom and so on, and to plant kingdom. And we're surrounded by living creatures everywhere.
Yeah, I believe we all have a purpose, like a unique purpose, but there are totally different purposes. And I think that's the tapestry, this perfect intelligence, puzzles, all the puzzles, they just fit and all have a specific part. You just have to find your part, and each are just as important. And I think when we start this discovery path, we will find our purpose. And a lot of the meaning of our lives is to actually find that purpose too. That's what I believe right now, but I might change my mind. But for me, that has been a discovery. I started following my heart, really my heart. It made no sense to just start doing a lot of videos and spend a lot of time doing that. But now, all of a sudden, I'm, creating something new, creating this new platform. And I couldn't have done that 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So when people said, how can you make money making these videos? I just felt, but I'm going to do it. I don't know why. I had no idea. So back to our minds does know, but there's something deeper that just knows. And my advice is to follow that. That whatever it is, that knowing.
Yeah, we have our unique voice, and for the big chorus, that unique voice is required. Everybody sings in their own way and own fashion. Yeah. And that's true. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Hans Wilhelm. Please continue your beautiful work. I really am starting to be addicted to your YouTube channel. I love the drawing because I'm visual too. So I really appreciate your drawing. And that's unique. Something that I haven't seen so much.
Right. That's what I have to do for myself too. And I'm pleased it works for others. I only do it for myself. And if it works for one person more, it's great. Yeah. The moment we are concerned about numbers, the ego comes in. So if one other person has fun of it, that's great.
Great.
I enjoy. Happy.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Much love from America to Oslo.
Yeah, bye. Much love back. And thank you so much for watching, everybody. And make sure that you check out Hans Wilhelm's YouTube channel, Life Explained. And remember to subscribe to both our channels if you haven't before. Much light. Bye-bye.